I'm Jennyfer Babativa. Today I'm going to talk about how to build remote teams easier and more cost effective without compromising quality. Can you see all my screen?
Yep, yep. Build remote teams. Yeah, exactly. So you see it.
Okay, all right. I will start talking about who I am. I was born and raised in Santa Marta, Colombia, which is a city in the north in Colombia, in South America. I have always been very passionate about entrepreneurship and remote work. And when I finished law school back on 2016, I started my own law firm. And I always wanted to work with international teams or international attorneys. So I moved to the US to learn English. And then after that exchange program, I started to work remotely for law firms based in the US. This is the how I'm going to tell you about what I'm doing. First, why was the business created? Then, how can I like add some value to the small business owners? Then, how I am actually helping the Latin America community, and how my business is different. And in the last one, I am gonna talk about our metaverse office. So this is the business. It's called RecLatam. It's about recruitment in Latin America, and the reason why I started was because I used to work through a staffing company in Colombia for a law firm in the U.S. And I realized that I mean, due to my network and knowledge and experience and also passions, I realized that I was able to actually do it by myself. So two
Mm.
years ago, back on 2022, I decided to start it by myself. And it's actually, I mean, what I decided to do was to connect that talent from Latin America to small business owners in other countries, especially in the US. Then, what I am trying to do for remote workers or for people in Latin America that want to have remote work is to be able to show them there is a job market beyond what they see in their home countries, that they can actually work remotely. And also by giving this access, I also feel like I can improve the quality of their life because they can have very good job opportunities without leaving their home, so they can work from anywhere. Also, there is something about remote work that I think many companies are not aware of, and is the impact to the environment that can be done by having remote work. When I had this idea about providing these people with remote work, I started to ask myself how could I how could I convince the companies that this was actually going to work. So what I did was trying to find what were the biggest challenges to have international employees or international workers. So one of the biggest problems was the security of the information, because their employees are in another country. So that was something that most of my clients always told me, like, this couldn't be this can be like a problem. So I started to train myself to train the people that I was going to send to these companies, and I educate myself. Then, with the communication tools, that was another question that I was asked many times, like, how can I communicate with these people in real time? How can I do this? So this was like the best practices that I found to be able to offer a good service. Now, in terms of supporting the business owners, as I mentioned before, when I started to work on my own law firm, one of the biggest challenges was to hire, because many reasons. No much experience, budget, and I think like helping and supporting these people that is just starting their businesses through telling them like this is how you start, this is how you can actually do, and this is how you can continue working with these employees is a very good way from me and from my service to help them presenting them savings of 70% in payroll was something that I felt that I was actually like telling them, you are just starting. I know that you are like, you might have a unstable budget or economy. So I can help you to do that, like we having less risk. And then in terms of like they are having their in-person employees. So when I provide them with remote workers, they can like, let's say like give to their in-person employees the most complicated task for say like that. Now um I wanted to see like how I could actually present a different company in terms of staffing, because I know there are many. So I focus my service into things that are not very common. And the first one is about giving the guarantee to my clients that um, I am able to find someone qualified in 14 days, which is something that I have not seen in other businesses like this. And the second thing was about providing one single person for their business, which means that I wanted to show that the people that I am giving to them is dedicated to their business only, not like to like sharing with other businesses. This is what I mentioned about the 14 days. It was not something that I just thought one day. It was I did some research and I found out that many most recruiting companies, they spend between 30 and 60 days to fill a position. So it was very like important for me to focus on that, because it was not something that, I mean, just an idea. It was an statistic. Now when I was doing all of like, when I started to do all of this, I was working at the same time, because I couldn't just quit my job and become an entrepreneur. So I was doing everything at the same time. And I was, after my office hours, I was going to research about how this could actually work. And due to my international candidates, I could offer this only through remote work. So I tried to find a way to make it very attractive and to make it work for for both parties. So I found a company I mean, they are from Seattle, and what they do is that they offer virtual offices in the metaverse. And it was very attractive for me because I used to live here, so it was like a coincidence for me. And I found someone in their team that was also an attorney, and he was able to help me through this and to show me how this metaverse thing was actually helping small businesses that were focused in remote work. I found something called after doing some research, something called gamification, which is to see your workplace as a game, which
Hmm.
make you feel happier. And we all know that when we feel happier, we are more productive. Also, with this, let's say, engaging tool, I was able to offer like a reduced turnover, which is like to avoid less people quitting, which was also to protect I mean, the small business owners economy or business growth. Now I would like to ask this question. And let me see here. This, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So this question is about if you need to hire someone new, what would stop you from doing it remotely? You can
Uh,
like type the answer in the chat, or you can just tell me
yeah, I
after.
think so thank you, Jennifer. Excellent presentation. I would like to hear a lot more about your entrepreneurial journey, but to answer your question, I think that the first thing that comes to mind is that it's hard to build trust between someone that you're going to hire and give them some kind of privileged information, let's say that way, or even entrusting them with the actually the future of your business to some extent, right, or a portion of that. So I think that's the major thing, is like, okay, how do I know that this person, that I can trust this person, that they're going to deliver, etc., if I don't look them in the eye? So what do you think about that?
I agree because that was actually one of the most common comments that I got from my, let's say, clients. And they were like, I mean, they didn't tell me directly, like, I just don't trust your candidates, but I could get that that was their like their concern. And one of the things that really helped me to let's say to fix this was number one, to get like referrals. Let's say like one person like took the risk, hired through me, and then that person like refer me to others. Let's saying like these candidates are reliable, it's gonna work. Number one. Number two, also like it's also about um telling them that the risk that you are gonna have with someone working overseas and they you don't know where they are actually is similar to the risk that you have with someone in the US here, because they are going to be working through a laptop and you don't know where they actually are.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's always like a concern that they have. So I agree. Dale, are you going to say something?
Yeah, yeah. So again, thank you for presenting. So one of the questions that came into my head as I was listening to your presentation, I want to see if I have this assumption right. It sounds like you are targeting the pool of workers from Latin America per the name, but are you specifically targeting the US or employers in the US, or are you also targeting like the EU or Asia? I'm just curious.
Yes. So I am mainly targeting the US because, as I mentioned, I used to live here. So I
Yep.
know people here. I know how the culture here is. But I also like, I had clients in Canada, which is close. But yeah, my main target is in the US.
Okay, thank you. Then to answer your question, um, with my previous hat as a hiring manager, and I will acknowledge that part of this may honestly have to do with my age, but very much like what Huba had said, I found it easier to work with remote employees after I had built some trust with them from doing work in person. Um, and it very much had to do with, you know, I think some of the in person helps you build the nonverbal communication with a particular person to understand and better interpret the discussions you're having. And so when you're setting expectations, it's less of trying to figure out how to communicate with that person. And then when they become remote for you, because you already know how to communicate, it's easier to manage remotely. That has been my experience. That being said, I have worked with completely remote teams, and but again, there's usually been some in person as part of that process. I can think of a project where I had to work with a team in Germany. They sent over two representatives who sat with my team for a few weeks. But then, most of the people I dealt with, I had never seen in person. But because I had those key touch points that I had met in person, that made it easier. So that's what I would share from my side.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, each experience is different.
Yeah, the
And
example I give you, when I think about other hiring agencies I've dealt with, Jennifer, is they often have a rep, right? Especially depending on the size of the company you're dealing with. And at least that representative is the in-person contact, even if a particular employee you've never met in person. So, yeah.
okay. So they are like the leader of the team that is back up.
It's more that they're like when I think about how it might apply to your company, I want to be careful. I'm not trying to dictate, but in my head, the picture I have is, you might be the representative who
Okay.
perhaps at one
Hmm.
point came on site and met me in person, but then you would be helping me find talent in the countries that you're using as your talent pool. And I may never meet them, but I know that if I have a problem, I go to Jennifer.
Yes, yes. I mean, I kind of do that. That's
Yeah,
how it works because I know that the in-person interaction builds on trust. So I know it's important.
cool.
I agree.
But thank you.
Yeah. Who is that? Matthew or yep.
Yeah. So I've been a remote worker for the last 5 some odd years myself for various companies, both as an employee and as a consultant. Um, and so I'm very comfortable with, the context of like 100% remote all the time. And in the industry that I've worked in, particularly in the accounting industry, I've worked with a lot of accounting firms and bookkeeping firms who are 100% remote. And I think to the concerns around security and data and all that stuff, it's been evidenced in that industry that if you do things the right way, it's actually just as secure as being in the office, right? And so so with the right technology and the right support and the right infrastructure, I think unfortunately, now that's the accounting industry, and there's an expectation of standards around security and protocol. I would suggest the possibility that a lot of small business owners that maybe aren't in that industry don't know how to be secure, frankly, and don't know how to manage data and documents at the same standard. And so I just acknowledge that, because I also think what I really appreciate about what you shared too was this piece about the metaverse. And as somebody who is, my aptitudes are around strategic planning and future thinking, and so my brain's always like 5 to 10 years ahead in how I think about things. And one of the things that your platform creates the space for is the next generation of employees and employers, right? Who expect things to be online and expect to use tools, possibly even a space like the metaverse. And so I'm really excited about sort of where you're headed in that regard, because it's very future forward, in my opinion. And I think where I have a question for you, because I see it as an advantage, and I'm curious if you are exploring this, is the fact that you are working with a market that speaks another language. Whether or not you've considered the bilingual or multilingual capabilities as an asset to your strategy when entering in the US market, where we know that unfortunately many US educated citizens don't speak two languages, and yet in our country there are so many languages, and particularly Spanish-speaking communities that are completely underserved because of our lack of language skills in this country. So I'm curious if you've thought about that, and if so, how might you see that playing out as a strategic advantage?
Yes, it's an asset for sure, and it's like a plus that I offer because, like as you say, like there are many cultures here. There are like a huge Spanish speaker community in the U.S. I I have been like supporting and helping and working with different type of industries, but my main industry has been law firms. So they are helping people that they are struggling in that moment, that they are stressed because they were injured, because they are going through an immigration process or something like that. So for them being in that situation and having someone that are speaking their same language is a huge benefit. And there is like a way for them to feel supported. So from the law firm owner's perspective, they see like bringing this person that is going to be like helping my clients is something that is going to benefit my business, and that's a way how I can. And there is no there is someone that has been like working with international clients before, so they are used to this. They know how to talk to these people. So yes, it's for sure like a plus that I offer. Like this is what I'm giving to you, is someone who can clearly communicate in English and can also clearly communicate in Spanish. I have not been working with people from Brazil yet, but it's something that I also like have in my mind to offer to like people that can, communicate.
Portuguese
It's
too.
just yes. So yes, the answer is yes. Who about you, Ned?
I have three questions, but I don't want to monopolize, the conversation. So
Yeah,
I'll
I
go
can
with
wait as well. So why
first
don't we
one.
let Syed go, and then I'm happy to ask after.
Yeah. Let me ask one question and then we keep going around. All right. So
Sounds good.
you're an attorney, Jennyfer. So one of
Yes.
the I'm curious, how do you address this issue? Because one of the things that would come up in my mind is that the person who is working for for the company in the US is in a completely different legal framework.
Mm.
Yes.
In the US, the arms of the law are very long, right? They can reach very far. Uh, how do you address this? Is there, some kind of a legal framework that you put in place so that that person is actually held responsible, and there's liabilities that are kind of like taken care of there?
So like your question is more like how can I connect with these people knowing that my legal background is different than their
No,
legal.
the question is, I have a business in the US. When I
Mhm.
hire someone, they are held by the US law, the standards. They are actually, you sign them up and they are on a legal framework. So when I'm hiring someone outside of the US, I want to make sure that there is something equivalent in place. So either through RecLatam or directly with the person, they are tied to me in a legal framework. If they happen to be a bad actor, which I hope they won't, right? What
Mhm.
happens there? Can I prosecute them in Colombia?
If I, yeah, okay, that's interesting. If I could paraphrase, because what I'm hearing when I hear you say this, Huba, is if I were the hiring person, really boils down to how do you help the hiring person or entity understand what laws apply from
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
if I hire someone through your agency.
And if
Okay.
you have any mechanism like, NDAs or contracts with the person or something that actually, fill the gaps.
Yeah, so the way how is legally connected, let's say that way, is
Mhm.
like like their contract is with my company, which is registered in the US first.
Mm.
Then the
Okay.
candidate is connected to my company that is registered in South America. So they don't have like they cannot go after the candidate directly. They have to go through me, and then I go through I mean to the candidates in their jurisdiction, because it's not a way for them like to go directly, at least that I wouldn't be in the middle.
But there is a connection. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. That's
Yep.
all right.
All right.
Syed? Syed,
Syed,
you're
you're on mute, but
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry about that, Zon.
no
Thank
worries.
you. Good morning. Uh,
Mark.
I think, well, my observation is actually that this is very needed in the US. I do work with attorneys on some things, and I'm actually on the board, blah, blah, for some legal organization. But anyway, when it comes to the law, it's not always necessarily that a remote worker would be involved in litigation or something. But if there's two parties in arbitration, or there's some party that doesn't speak fluent English, and it's just very common here that they only speak Spanish or a Latin American language, it would be very helpful to open a screen and have an interpreter booked that would be there live in the conference room, interpreting right there. And what we see in a lot of court cases, and you probably already know all this, but what you see in a lot of interpreters, for example, is, sometimes it's a gig worker that applies, that comes in with a briefcase full of papers falling out. He's walking 15 minutes late into the room, for example. But to be able to have somebody on the calendar, on a Google Calendar or something, and say, boom, this is our interpreter, this is our client, and here we are. And everything's just done very quickly and efficiently with an actual human being. I see that as very valuable.
If I could build off of what Syed just said, because my question for you, Jennifer, was, I think you answered maybe part of this, but I don't want to make a bad assumption. I know your background is with legal, and it sounds like that's going to be a heavy focus of your business. But do you have a list of the particular types of roles you intend to source for companies? Examples popping into my head is like, would your company be the one to reach out to if I wanted a programmer, right? Or in specific languages? Or as Syed mentioned, is interpretive services important? I would imagine it would be in legal, but I don't have a background in that, so I'm ignorant, to be honest. What specific types of roles do you intend to focus on, out of curiosity?
So, I mean, the reason why I am focused on the legal industry is because it's where I feel confident. I
Sure.
try it. That's something that I didn't mention in my presentation, but in the beginning, I tried to just bring like many type of employees from Latin America to work remotely for companies until I faced a software developer where I was not able to actually measure like how good or how bad the candidate was
Got
because
it.
of my expertise.
Hmm.
So what I am like right now, I'm offering from like receptionists, case managers, paralegals, legal assistant, virtual assistants, sales, marketing, website design, everything that is like that is going to develop a small business in the early stage. That is
Got
going
it.
to,
Okay.
so that's what
Almost
I'm
like
going to do.
back
But,
office.
coming back to what Sai said, I actually like started with a new employee a couple of like 3 weeks ago. He's an immigration attorney from New York, and the person that started to work for him is a bilingual guy that is just doing when they have to do some like hearings in immigration, so he has to be
Sure.
there translating all the time, so that way the attorney feels comfortable like working with their client. So that's something that happens here a lot. And as I mentioned, like many people that is going through a legal thing and they need like some support from someone that can speak the same language.
I think you guys are going to make a lot of money. I think you're going to be very successful, to be
Yeah, we
honest.
definitely hope so.
So
Thank you.
I have I
Oh,
had
sorry.
two more questions, right? And let me throw one in, but I just want to make sure that everybody, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand or just type it in the chat window if you're feeling shy this morning, and we will articulate it here. Okay. So my question, Jennifer, is tell us a little bit about what's the reality of the person in Colombia, right? The employee. We don't see that side, right? What's the reality of the person? How do they live? What is the impact that getting a job like this has in their lives? And how is that? What is the positive impact of that? And how does the life of this person changes through this.
Yes. So these people, they are like having a good job there in Colombia, I mean, before, and they have to go to the office every day. They have to like be very, they have to follow like a schedule that is very, like going to the office every day. And they live like a comfortable place. It's not something like we are recruiting or we are bringing people that their change is gonna be that big, because they already have a job there. Is like they are having a good lifestyle there. Let's say it like that. What is the benefit? Why their life change when they work through me? Like the remote work is a plus that they see, because they can just go whatever they want with their laptop, and their salary is like, it could be bigger, yes, but it could also remain the same. What is something that I haven't mentioned, and many of my, let's say, clients, and I didn't mention that in the presentation, that is like a non advantage for them, and is the fluctuation of the currency. Because that's something like, if my clients here in the US are paying, let's say, $2,000 per month, and the dollar goes down, the salary for the person in the other country is going to go down, and
Mm.
for the clients is going to be the same $2,000. So the way how the people is in there, I mean, Colombia or any other country in Latin America, is, I mean, they have a good job, they have like a, they live in their house, they are not going to work. That's another thing that I don't do, and is to bring these people to a building where they are going to do back office there. They work from their homes, but
Mhm.
also they go through a background check, because I need to know who they are living with, what type of, like family they are living with, and all of that is important to me, in terms of, because I need to guarantee that security of the information, that is not only with the
Gotcha.
uh, software tools, is also like knowing who they are.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So it's
That,
more
did I
about
answer your
the employment scenario in Colombia is more traditional, and this
question?
way
Yes.
they have access to something that is remote. You turn them into digital nomads basically, and they get the benefit of that. And they also get to work with a US company, which is a great experience. Okay, great, thank you. Who's
Yes.
next?
Yeah. I mean, the scenario in Colombia about work is like very traditional. Like remote work is something very like new there.
Mhm.
Mm.
Who's next?
I'll ask, but also if anybody else has a question, Graham or
Go
anyone, feel
ahead,
free
Dale.
to.
I have one
Okay, all right,
more.
great. So, my last question, you already answered the question about roles. Just when I tried to put my hiring hat on, I think I would suggest having that front and center somewhere in where you present the company. But then my other question was, you mentioned something about best practices, and you were talking about specific technologies. In my experience, many of the companies have already made decisions about their technology platform, whether it's a small, for example, a small law firm, or a larger tech startup. The example I give you is, very early on, people will decide, am I going to use like Google Drive for business, or am I going to use Microsoft Office? And decisions like that will very much affect any contract employees that they may hire. So I am curious, because you mentioned specific technologies, you know, how do you frame that with people? Are you trying to train people on specific technologies up front, or are you um yeah, I was just curious your thoughts on specific tech platforms and how much you make that part of the hiring process.
So first, like when someone wants to work in RecLatam, I do like a test about how good they are with technology. Because one of the, like, let's say, the key points to work remotely is to be like tech savvy. It's very important. Then after that, I don't require my clients to work with these platforms. but they are very common. So they are like most of them work with them. So I try to make sure that my candidates know how to use it, or if they have used that in the past.
Got
If
it.
they
Okay.
haven't,
I think that makes
I
sense.
yeah, I try to like teach them do like how to do that. That is another thing that is more about like the vision or like the yeah, the plan that I have for the company, and is to create an academy. That's something that is going to be like in 1 year, when when I grow a little bit more. And it's an academy to train attorneys from Colombia and South America, how to learn some litigation practices, how to learn the basics about immigration law, personal injury law. They are not going to become like, let's say, an attorney here for sure, no, but they will know how to compare the law that they already learned in their countries
Yeah.
with the law here. So
Okay. Okay. I think, yeah, what you're saying makes sense. So, and I love the idea that you would build into your program like specific training stuff, whether it's on tech or legal issues. That sounds really cool. Okay, thank you.
thank
Let
you.
me check and see if anybody else has a question for Jennifer.
Yeah.
All right, then Jennifer, we have a question for you, which is, what can the 1 Million Cups community do for you? What would you love to see coming out of this discussion we've had today?
Well, I mean, you already gave me like a great feedback, which is something that I really appreciate and love, because I believe that that's the way how entrepreneurs grow. When we
Wonderful,
think
and
that
we're glad
we're,
you have that attitude. Thank you.
yeah, like when we think that we're doing everything right, then we're not, because like we need to, and then like hearing from people like you guys that have more experience than me and know about like how to grow a business, so that's really good for me. What I expect, or that I will want from you guys, is any recommendation, any like things that you see that I am not doing right, or that I am, and you want to, hey, just keep doing this way, or so some yeah, any comments that you had. That's what I expect from the community, because I know that you guys believe in entrepreneurs, believe in growing a business from scratch. So yes, that is.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anybody else have any final thoughts or ideas you want to share with Jennifer?
I would just wanted to hear a little bit about the metaverse and Jennifer, and how successful has that been for you? Is it really working? Is it just shiny piece of tech? What is it?
Yes, it's a very cool thing, because honestly it's not very common. And like, for me to offer remote work, I need to, like what you guys say, the in-person interaction is something that I can offer. But believe it or not, the avatars thing is something that in the workers and companies' mind creates some connection and some like belief that they are working together, and that they are like developing some engagement. So here I offer like different channels. It's like an Slack, but you have an actual office. You can present things. So it has been like many of my clients feel very like attracted, because I include that like my services, and like here is your office, and here is where you
Yeah.
can see how they are getting connected. So people like they have fun seeing each other's avatars. They like to even play games there in the platform. So this like offering this interaction is giving like an extra value to what I am doing. It's not like a regular remote work where you just send emails and you have, like video calls.
Mhm.
It's a little bit more like, yeah, it's just an avatar, but it creates more engagement. I will be honest, some clients, they don't see the value in the beginning because they think that it could be distracting,
Hmm,
but then over time they see it like it's actually something that is adding value to the remote workspace. So yeah, I mean, you see, you get many like comments about it. Some people like it, other people don't. But I have seen that it's very like, oh, I work for a company that have a metaverse office.
Yeah.
They had this interaction. So it's like a something that I see as a positive value that I am
Do you
providing with.
remember the name of the platform that powers that? Or-
Yeah,
Meta,
it's a,
like, oh, go ahead.
I will
Uh,
that's the name, spot.
a
Spot?
question that popped into my head. I mean, when I've looked at, so to be fair, I'm kind of interested in the metaverse, but I have not yet bought a VR headset. So I'm curious if that you find that to be any kind of a hurdle or a blocker, whether it's on the employee side or the employer side, you know, because they, unless I misunderstand, don't they have to buy some special equipment?
Okay, that's something that this company actually like they did that in purpose, and it was like getting access to this without the glasses,
Ah,
because
okay, okay.
people don't want to get access there with that like with the all the time
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're actually working. You are not just like,
right.
so you get access there, and then you just see like you have interaction with the avatars, and without using the glasses. So there is no any equipment that you need to buy.
Got it. Okay, okay. Thank you. Well, we are in our last few minutes. Normally we would do some breakout, but I think with 3 minutes left, there's that probably doesn't make sense because by the time we get into the rooms, we'll be leaving. So I want to thank you, Jennifer, for presenting today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. If folks have questions, you can see on the screen how you can reach out to Jennifer. And like I mentioned, if anybody has anything that comes up afterwards, if you go to our LinkedIn, you can reach out to any of the organizers and we can try to connect you with folks. Anybody else have any final thoughts for this morning? All right. Well, in that case, I'm just going to wish everybody a very happy Wednesday. Thank you again. And yeah, have a great week, folks.